Hello, beautiful humans, and welcome to the Mental Wellness Wake Up Show, a weekly podcast where growth minded, creative people come to learn best practices from both spirituality and psychology that create lasting well being. I am your host, mental wellness expert, improvised acting teacher, therapist, and coach, Dawn McMillan. Let's get to it. There's no place like home. Home, sweet home. Home is where the heart is. I once met a man without a country. The details have escaped me, but it began with him being a member of the Baha'i faith. And in his country of origin, he and his family had to flee for persecution. The first country they fled to did not want them, and so they were sent to yet another country. This went on for quite some time, and somehow throughout all of that, never had citizenship and never had a passport. I was talking to someone recently about being in a diaspora, and there are many. There are many people who have been sent away from their culture of origin for one reason or another. We often talk about the African diaspora, my people, African Americans, did not willingly, for the most part, I know there are immigrants here, but for the most part, did not choose to be sent away from hearth and home. But centuries later, here we are, and yet there's this sense often of being strangers in a strange land. There's a movement afoot in this country about real Americans. Spoiler alert, Black folks are not considered real Americans, according to this movement. What is home? What is home? I know people who not only lived in the same city their whole lives, but in the same house their whole childhood. That is so strange. Or then they live there as an adult, as their grandparents or parents gift them this home for them to have. One of the gifts of being an army brat is the slang term for a child of someone in the military. So you can be an Air Force brat, Army brat, etc. One of the advantages of being an Army brat really is a very flexible sense of what it means to be home. One gets used to that perpetual question, where are you from? If it's obvious that you are not from the place you're currently standing or on vacation. That's always a complicated question. For a long time, people would say, oh, but where were you born? Isn't it odd that we consider someone from someplace for a brief experience of having been born there? You could be born somewhere and leave instantaneously, and yet you're allowed citizenship in that place because at the moment that you emerged from the womb, you happen to be on that land. I find that odd. I find that very odd. Lupita Nyong'o is Mexican because she was born in Mexico. Or is she? What's her culture? What's her heritage? What's your culture? What's your heritage? Where were you born? Is that home? Is that where you live now? When you think of home, do you think of the city or the house or the country that you grew up in? Is home where you live now? When I first left Los Angeles, I would always refer to going to Los Angeles as going home. That lasted for several years after I left. And at one point, I went to LA and it felt like visiting. It was a bit of a rude awakening. LA was no longer home. And LA felt like home for the longest time, Army brat that I am, because I chose to be there of my own free will as an adult. None of the places I lived as a child were chosen by me. I did not choose them. They were just where I happened to live. LA, I chose to make my home because it's what I wanted for myself. And so that moment I went back and I'm like, oh, this isn't home. I'm just visiting here. Took a little adjusting. Why am I talking so much about home? Well, before I share with you what this is all for, can I thank you for being here? Thank you for listening. Thank you for spending time with me. You have so many demands on your attention. And so for you to be here with me in this moment is a gift. So thank you. And thank you for ignoring the panting dog in the background. Oh my gosh, sidebar. So, my little old man is prone to heightened states, shall we say. And so, the number of times I have to co regulate my dog, right? I put my hand on my heart, my other hand on his heart, and I just breathe with him until he calms down. Some guy on TikTok said that if you cover one of your dog's nostrils, it kind of works like a reset button. It kind of does. He doesn't like it much, but it does startle him out of whatever anxiety or panic he is starting to choose. Digression over. The reason why I'm talking about home is I was speaking with someone recently about being homesick. And what we uncovered was the notion of being homesick for a place you've never had. Some of us never feel at home. We don't feel at home in our own bodies. We don't feel at home in our own communities. We always feel like we stick out like a sore thumb, like a fish on dry land, like a stranger in a strange land. And that feeling of not being at home is an existential crisis. It's like walking around with a rock in your shoe. It's painful. It's painful. So, my invitation to you is to make a decision that home is where the heart is, and to accept that as literal. What if you can make a home inside your own being? What if you could seek the peace that comes from stillness, from being in yourself, from counting the breaths, from listening to your heartbeat, from simply being present to the present moment? What if all of those seekings and searchings and quotes and longings after home is seeking in the outside what has always been available in the inside? What if your home is where your heart is and you can carry it with you everywhere you go? So, if it's safe and okay for you to do so, I invite you to put your left hand over your heart and your right hand either on your solar plexus or your lower belly. I think it's called the dantian in martial arts. Your lower belly. And breathe into your heart, out through your belly button. Visualize, sense, know, or imagine breathing in through your heart and out through your belly button. One more time, in through your heart and out through your belly button. And what if you allowed that engagement with the present moment to be what you call home, to create your sense of home? If we decide that, then we can never not be home. We can never be at home, never be at odds with where we are, because we are our own home. We're always available to create a welcoming space for others. Home is where the heart is. And if home is truly your heart, then home is always available to you, and you never need to feel lost or unmoored or untethered or if you are swimming upstream or a square peg in a round hole, because you are your own home. Thank you for being here, you lovely, glorious, amazing being. And allow me the pleasure of reminding you that right here, right now, you are truly whole, truly perfect, truly complete, exactly as you are in this moment, and worthy and deserving of a beautiful life. Until next time.